Hello, everyone. I'm your facilitator for strategic business leadership exam, right? So we are rightly moving on to our next class, and that's to cover another past paper. One thing which I would just add on this class is that you have to cover more and more past papers, right? I'm recording these new sessions just for you so that I could make you solve more past papers. And I told you that our pattern is going to be first, we gonna be practicing our mini mocks, right? We have done Zilber till now. You guys must have covered Zilber. Okay. And see, when I'm saying that you guys must have covered Zilber, or you guys must have covered that question, that means that I am asking you to read this question. And if you have done this question with me, that's great. That means I'm asking you to read this question, solve this question, right? To solve this question, if I have solved, then you don't need to solve this, right? Just read that answer which I have solved and read the examiner answer of it, right? And read the examiner answer of it, right? So these are the things which means the past paper is covered, right? So if you guys haven't read the Zilber's examiner answer, just read it once, right? And if you can make points from its examiner answer for your learning purpose, that you have solved this question, so you should note it by yourself. For learning purpose, you can make a paper and you should write the learners which you have got from that past paper. It would be great, right? From that past paper, it would be great. So as I told you, that totally from 100% of the syllabus, approx 80% is practical skills. That means drafting. So we have completely drafted one past paper in which I have read my answer. In today's class, I am going to solve in front of you another past paper, right? First, we are going to finish mini mocks with us. And then we're gonna move on to the specimens and all that, right? And obviously, once the advanced information is issued, so we're gonna read that advanced information also. Don't you need to worry about that, right? So I'll just put a tick on Zilba that you guys have read the question with me, obviously. You guys have solved this question with me, obviously. You guys must have read the examiner answer. If not, you should have done that. And then if you want to make points from the examiner answer, that what you need to do and what you don't need to do, you can make it, right? You can make it. Our today's target is question named Ling, right? I'll try to make you solve more questions. So I'll solve some of the starters with me, and then you guys have to solve by yourself, right? Sir, what about the theory? See, whatever theory is being tested, I'll teach it. Don't worry. If we just focus on the theory and do the practice in the last sessions, that's not enough in SBL. My SBL strategy and the key to pass SBL is practice. So we'll do the practice from the first session which we have done. We'll do the practice from the first session which we have done. And what this will make us to a student, it will enable them to draft, right? So we're gonna do that. So Ling is a very interested question, and we're gonna solve it with ourselves, right? We're gonna solve this question with ourselves, and that's really gonna help us in understanding the concepts, right? In understanding the concepts. So don't worry. I have the complete question and my drafted answer with me, and I'll be solving this question with you. Then I'll share my book on LMS so that you can access to the book and PDFs which I've been writing this, so you can get this PDF also, right? If there are any queries, you guys can text me on WhatsApp. You are all connected with me, or you can just if you're taking the live classes, you can just use the Zoom chat box. That's totally up to you, right? We will be covering the theory. Don't worry. We will be covering the theory. but with past papers. See, if we have practiced 20-25 past papers, so that means around 60-70 topics, right? SBL. So we'll be covering that. You don't need to worry. I have highlighted the theory with myself also. If you can focus on it, here's the model highlighted, right? List of models which we'll be covering through these past papers and through these all things. So I'll teach you all that. Don't worry. I'll make you learn all that. Don't worry, right? One of the question that a student has asked, that sir, what if I have written something else and you have written something else in an SBL exam? What's going to be happening, right? If they have asked us a recommendation, that provide a recommendation, right? It's a student's question that if they have asked us and another student has said no, so what's going to be right? See, in an SBL exam, just remember this, right? In SBL exam, there is no marks for writing that decision, right? There is marks for how you are elaborating your skills. There are marks for how you are elaborating your skills or how you are drafting. That doesn't mean that if someone has said yes, he'll get the full marks, and if someone has said no, he'll get 0 marks. That doesn't mean it, right? That's totally vague for this. I'll show you an evidence. I'll show you an evidence in it. I'll show you an evidence, right? See, these are the examiner comments. These are the examiner comments. Just read it. Just read it and you'll be thinking of it. Note, it is not always possible. It is not always possible to publish suggested answers. Examiner is talking about their answers, right? It is not possible to publish suggested answers which comprehensively cover all the valid points, right? Which comprehensively cover all the valid points which candidates might make. So that means examiner might skip their points, right? Examiner is also allowed to skip the points in the suggested answer. Credit will be given to candidates for points not included in the suggested answer. Yeah, credit will be given if you have written the right point, but that's not in the examiner answer. You'll be given the credit. Don't need to worry. But which nevertheless are relevant to the one question may be reintroduced or fully developed in the other question as long as they are specific context of the requirements of part of questions being answered. That means a point can be reused. Just remember, right? That means a point can be reused. Just think of it, right? Examiner is not covering all points. Examiner is not covering all points. That means you don't need to worry that if you have written some point and that's not in the examiner answer, that doesn't mean that that point is going to be rejected, right? And a point can be reused but specific to the context, right? But right now read the other paras. Now these are the questions which a student of SBL asks regularly to me, right? So I'm gonna explaining to you through this session that SBL is not that difficult, which you guys below may be given much more detail. The suggested answer presented below may be given. Don't worry, don't worry about the suggested answer that it includes many points. No need to worry in it, boy. No need to worry in it all, because These are the examples. They may also have used a particular approach or model, which should not be taken as the only approach or model. Yeah. Another question was asked that, sir, to use the model is the requirement. No, examiner has said any model can be used, right? Examiner has said you just need to focus on writing rather than focusing on the model which to use. I'll be teaching all the models, don't worry. I'll be teaching you all the models. I'll be teaching you all the things which you guys need. But that means, right? So they may also have used particular approach or model, which should not be taken as the only approach or model, right? Which should not be taken as the only approach or model. Different approaches and structuring the answer are expected. Full credit will be given to the relevant and appropriate solutions. So full credit is gonna be given to all the relevant and appropriate solutions. The answers provided here are therefore intended to support revision and tuition for the future examinations, right? So don't hesitate seeing the examiner answer. They are examiners, right? They have written it, they are written by the experts. They have written it not in the examination pressure, right? So don't need to worry in it. Now, finally, it should be noted that candidates will not get full professional marks in task requirement if they have not presented their answer in the format. So the formats are important. Therefore, in my book, there's a section of the format, all the formats which can be tested. I have just categorized it just for you, because without the format, you cannot get the full marks. Without the format, you cannot get the full marks. For example, if the task is to complete and using a report and evaluation skills and tested, even if the answer has met the specifically stated evaluation criteria, candidates will not be able to earn all the professional skill marks available if they have not used the report format, right? So candidates will not be able to earn all the professional marks available if they have not used the report format. If they have not used the report format, right? So the format is important. Remember the thing, the format is important. So why are you telling us all these things? Because now going on to the past papers, we're gonna be thinking of it, right? Now going on to the past papers, we're gonna be thinking of it. Obviously, right? So where we can get this mock, we can get this mock in my book, right? SAB's book, we can get this mock in my book, right? Similarly, we can get this mock in BPP's kit because it belongs to BPP, right? So now, sir, what's the strategy? We'll be reading the question, right? We'll be reading the question. We'll be, after reading, we're gonna be learning theories which are tested in it, right? We're gonna be learning theories which are tested in it, right? We're gonna be learning theories which are tested in it. Similarly, with learning theories, we're gonna be drafting an answer. In today's or tomorrow's class, or the next classes, we're gonna be drafting an answer of this short question also, right? And after drafting an answer, we're gonna be reading examiner answer. You're gonna be reading the examiner answer of it, right? You're gonna be reading the examiner answer of it. I'll make you draft. And similarly, once we are in a mechanism of drafting questions more and more, then I'll give you some questions as an homework. right? Then I'll give you some questions as in taught this question many times, right? Because I've taught these questions many times, so I know the requirements. What are the requirements? So I'll which questions are tested here. So I'll just teach you those topics so that we can draft an answer of it, right? So I'll teach you those topics and then we can move on to it. So I know that pestle model is tested here. So I'll be teaching pestle you first, right? I know that Porter 5 forces is tested here. So I'll be teaching you Porter 5 forces, right? I know that Beldridge model is tested here, right? I know the Beldridge model. I know the agency relationship is tested here. So we're gonna be doing all this, right? So we're gonna be doing all this. And once we have done that, we'll be starting the past paper, right? So it will take around 1 to 2 classes to complete these all topics, right? So we'll be doing that. Just text me on WhatsApp and I'm available for all the queries. And obviously in SBL, one of my duties include as answer. You're gonna email me if you guys are fully available and fully in motivated to draft your answer. You're gonna be emailing me that, right? And I'll be checking your answer. I might call you to connect with me live. Your answer, I'll just check your answer and provide you the feedback. But that's a long story. We're gonna be doing that many times, right? So now, since I know that these models are tested, I'll teach you these models first, and then we'll be going on to the past papers, right? Now remember, yeah. So, but in SBL, is the model is necessary? I told you that model is not necessary. In fact, Examiner has published an article that model is not necessary. But model gives your answer a frame, right? Model gives your answer a frame that how to draft. Model gives your answer a frame that how to draft, or it gives you headings to draft. So using a model is a good thing, but only using a model is nevertheless nothing, right? So you'll be learning those models, and this is how your theory is covered. See, this is how your theory is covered. After today's class, your past feasibility, disruptive technology, all these things, right? So covering those past papers will make you learn many things, right? And similarly, which theories which are not covered in past paper, I'll take the sessions in the end to make you cover those, right? In fact, my book is available on LMS, so you guys can just look into it, right? So let's move on to the theory which we are going to do first. Here it is. Today our target is pastel, to cover Porter's 5 forces. We have covered SFA framework in Zilber, right? So we'll be covering these things. Another model we'll be covering today is Beldridge model, right? So let's move on to it. So see, here's the pestle. See, here's the pestle. Sir, what is pestle? Sir, what is pestle? Now see how, right? And once we have learned it, what we are going to do, we are going to do a past paper in which this model's application is required. In this model, and then we are going to do a past paper for which this model's application is required, and that's really good with us, right? So pastel, what's pastel? See, in pastel, P means political, right? In pastel, P means political. In pastel, E means economy. S means social, T means technological, E means ecological, and legal. Some of the students say E means environmental, so that's not an issue. You can call E as an environmental. You can call E as an environmental. No issue to that, right? No issue at all to that. Now see, in Portal, in sorry, Pastel, what you guys do? In Pastel, what you guys do? You guys analyze the environment, right? You guys analyze the environment, right? It allows you to analyze the environment before moving or before investing, right? It allows you, this model allows you to analyze the environment or environmental factors. It allows you to analyze the environment and environmental factors so that you can decide that whether to move in that country or whether to go in that country is feasible or not. So pastel model allows you that in order to move in your country is feasible or not through pastel, you could analyze this. Now examiner won't say to you that write pastel. Examiner in its requirement will say analyze the environment, that before the company is moving to that company. So in examiner, it will say analyze the environment before moving in that country, right? Before moving in that country. So political. In political, what you could discuss, right? Now, what you guys can discuss, in these heads. So here I have shortly made a list, right? What you guys can discuss in these heads. Here I have made a list of it, right? So it's political. In political, you could discuss government and its policies, right? You could use government and its policies, right? You could discuss the government if you are pertaining to a construction industry, so it requires a government, right? So here you're gonna be discussing government policies, government approvals, licenses. Like if you belong to an aviation industry or if you belong to a construction industry, so it will require a license. Apologies, guys. There was a connectivity issue. So I'm saying that you guys must know that if environmental analysis is asked, you should be knowing political issues, right? What's political? In political, you could discuss government, you could discuss government policies, you could discuss government approvals and license, you could discuss taxes, government political stability, you could discuss all these things, right? And obviously it all is subject to data availability. Yeah, it all is subject to data availability. If there's much more data, you could discuss that, right? And then the student has texted that's okay, whether we can use the government changing or the government laws, that new laws have been implemented here. Yeah, you can use that. So in political head, all things pertaining to government can be used, right? In political head, all things pertaining to government can be used. Economy. Now, what's economy? Now, see what's economy. See, economy means, right? Recession, inflation. Yeah. So in economy, we can discuss many things such as economy, economic growth, economic downturn, recession, these type of things, right? We can discuss many things in economy. uh, Currency devaluation, just like Pakistan is facing many things, many economic issues, right? So you could discuss that. Like if you are an exporter and if the currency is devaluing, so that means you're gonna be receiving more funds, right? Because the currency is devaluing, and if you are so in social, what you guys can write in social, you can write prosperous developed nation, right? You could discuss the people or standard of living, right? You could discuss the people of age group. You could discuss the people here of gender. You could discuss the people of gender here, right? You could discuss the habits of people. What are the habits? Like if you are from the clothing industry, so you must be discussing the people's buying pattern, people's traditions. Yeah, we can just write the traditions of people of there, right? So that means on traditional day you're going to be selling more cloths. Prosperous developed nation, right? Standard of living. Just a second. Yeah, so we were discussing social. So in social, we can write prosperous developed nation. You'll be discussing the social needs and social factors of that country, right, in which you are going. The standard of living, the educated population, unemployment, the trade people, age group, gender, habits. These things are going to be discussed there, right? In technological, what we are going to do. In technological, what we are going to do. So in technological, you could discuss the focus of that country on innovation, or the company that you are buying, that whether that country is a tech country or tech favorite country, like whether that country wants to innovate, whether the company that you are investing in that wants to innovate, right? Plant and machinery, whether there are skilled workers or not. If there are skilled workers, you can be getting their local resources, right? If there's how the country's focus is on IT. In technological, you can be discussing that. Similarly, ecological or environmental. Similarly, ecological and environmental, you could be discussing the emission. What's the emission? You could be discussing the carbon footprint of that country. Similarly, government laws, you could be discussing the government laws regarding You could be discussing similarly whether the country is a green favorite country or not. You could be discussing that. All factors, all data pertaining to pertaining to all data pertaining to environment can be written here. And similarly, legal means laws, legislations, any patent, trade, trademark, copyright, precedents, how the precedents have worked of similar type of companies, right? How the precedents have worked for similar type of countries there. So that means there is this model allows you, as I have written here, this model allows you to analyze the environment before moving or investing, right? This model allows you to analyze the environment before moving or investing in a particular country, and there are 6 environmental factors. Just to let you know that 4 means pest. 4 factors are, just to let you know that 4 factors are basically pest, and 2 are ENL. They were later added, right? Initially, this model contains of 4 factors, that's pest. Initially, this model contains of 4 factors, that pest, and then rest the 2 are E and L, that's ecological and legal, and they are later added, right? And they are later added. So now pastel is covered. So now, see, you have learned pastel with me, that what's pastel. So now we can go into the past paper and draft the answer on a pastel. So you'll be having an immediate look of how to apply the drafting skills and model, right? But we're gonna be doing 2 to 3 models, and then we'll do the Ling, right? We'll do the Ling, and that's gonna surely gonna help us. Now, Porter 5 forces. Now we have Porter 5 forces. See what Porter 5 forces does. It's a question from a student that what's one is pastel and then one is Porter 5 forces. What's this model do or allows a student or a analyst to analyze, right? It's basically assesses the chances. This model assesses the chances of you to succeed. That means we can say that means it will analyze the factors. This model will analyze the factor that will make a business. So doing the Porter and the pestle analysis is the best thing to do before investing. I'll give you my corporate experience that I belong to an industry which do a lot of acquisitions, right? I belong to an industry which do a lot of acquisition. We want to create pastel and Porter analysis before going to that particular company, before buying that company or any subsidiary of ours. So pastel, Porter, SWOT, Taos, Baldrige, these all are the models which will give you an analytics view that how to succeed or how to make investment worth it. How to succeed and how to make your investment worth it, right? So Porter 5 forces is basically a successful tool to analyze the factors that's going to be making your business, right? It gives you it's an eye opener, I'll say. It's an eye opener for a business internal knowledge. It's an eye opener for a business internal knowledge, right? So in this, we have 5 heads again: bargaining power of customer, bargaining power of supplier, threats of competition, threats of substitute product, right? In we have, in here, we have again 5 things. What are they? Bargaining power of customer. So in this model, we have bargaining power of customer, supplier, threats of competition, threats of substitute product, and threats of new entrants. So now think of it. What these models do, right? So now just think of it, that what this model do. This model allows you to analyze that in which industry you are going to operate, whether there is high bargaining power of customer or not. Like if I am going in a teaching industry, that in that industry, Porter 5 forces will give me an eye opener. So this model allows you to analyze who's more powerful, whether your customer or you, right? Here the words we need to look for the customers or the consumers, and we're going to be deciding. If you're performing the Porter analysis, then you need to decide that whether you are more powerful or the customer, right? You'll be comparing the size of the customer, whether it belongs to your size or greater than you or lower than you. You're going to be discussing the number of sellers, how many number of sellers are there. If there are many shops, then obviously your bargaining power is going to be low because the customer can choose anything, right? And whether the customers want to pay premium, right? If I'll give you an example of an iPhone, right? If I will give you an example of an Apple, so you're going to be thinking of it that the customer wants to pay premium, right? Here the Apple company has more power because it demands the premium and customers pays it, right? It demands the premium and customers pays it. And similarly, bargaining power of supplier. It allows you to know that who's more powerful, whether you or your supplier, right? Supplier, vendor, manufacturer. In fact, employee can be your supplier because it supplies you services. In fact, employee can be your supplier because it supplies you services, right? Factors to decide: high, low, size of supplier, number of suppliers. If there are more suppliers, then obviously your power is going to be high. If there are many suppliers, then obviously your power is going to be high in it, right? Similarly, are we willing to pay premium or not? Threats of competition. It will allow you to analyze how's the competition here, whether you are the market leader, whether you are the, here's the monopolistic thing, right? If you're the only existing here, if you're only existing, so whether it's a monopolistic thing, how's the competition, how's the rivalry here, number of competitors, market share. These all the things you need to look into, analyze the competition. Substitute product, right? What's the alternate of your product? What's the, I'll give you an example. If we are going to the Ling belongs to the light bulb industry, right? So if I could ask you that what's the alternate or substitute of light, so we could be saying candles, right? To live in a candle, we can be saying that to live in a candle, but candles gonna be switched off the light and turn on the candles, right? No one's gonna be doing that, right? So you could be thinking of the substitutes of it, right? And new entrants. How many new entrants can come, right? What are the capital requirements of entry? Whether you need sufficient funds to enter or you need very low funds to enter. You need to think of it, right? Whether you need sufficient funds to enter or whether you need more funds to enter, right? You need to think of it. Exit cost. If someone's gonna come and there's a high exit cost, so no one's gonna be leaving. Entrance cost, right? If there's a high significant entry cost into your company or into your industry, so no one's easily gonna be coming. So that means the competition and the threat from the new entrants is low here. In order to analyze your country, in order to analyze your company or the other company, you will perform bargaining power. You'll be performing Potter 5 forces, and that will allow you that who's more powerful, customer or you, who's more powerful, supplier or you, whether there's competition or rivalry there or not. If there's monopolistic competition, then it's your game. You can lead, you can set prices, you can do whatever mix you want, you can supply many products as you want. That's you, right? The threats of substitute product, threats of new entrants, you're gonna be thinking of it. So this is Potter 5 forces itself, that students usually are confused whether to use pestle or Potter. Simply, it depends on data. Which data is available? If pestle is available, you're gonna be using that. If Potter 5 force is available, you're gonna be using that, right? So now we have covered two models, and then we'll be writing skills, right? If there are any questions, you guys can text me on WhatsApp, or you can, if you are attending the live classes, you can just chat me with Zoom chat box. Yes, some topics to revise before doing the link. So I'll just ask you to just ask me, and then you'll be moving on to the next topics, right? Yeah. So let's move on to the other topic. That's agency theory. That's tested, right? And that's tested in many past papers. I can count you on fingertips that how much times the agency theory is being tested. That how much times the agency theory is being tested, right? I can count you on many times. So it's on page 17 of my book. You can go on to my book, right? That's uploaded on LMS. Download it. Theory. It's a simple thing, right? What is theory? No need to discuss more than 5 minutes on it, but it can give you a so if I can ask you that describe the agency theory, so it's a simple thing, right? That you one person is an agent, right? And one person is principal. This theory just classifies that who's agent and who's principal. See, principals are shareholders. Who are the principal? Shareholders, as they are owner of the company. So that means this theory says the owners are basically the principal. So that means this theory says that owners are basically the principal, right? And then there's agent. And then there's agent directors, right? As they run the company on behalf of shareholders, right? So if you're thinking of a company, so agency theory says that owners are basically the principal, and then we have agent. Those are directors, right? In company's case, right? In company's case, the directors are agent, because shareholders cannot run the company as they are very their authority to the directors to run the company. So they have given their authority to the directors to run the company. So they have given their authority to the directors to run the company, right? So this is agency theory. Now there can be conflict. What are the conflicts in this theory? The conflict can be the directors might not work in the best interest of principal, right? So see, there's an fiduciary duty and accountability attached to this theory, right? It is attached to this duty. That fiduciary duty is attached to agency theory. And what's that? It's that fiduciary duty means duty of utmost good faith towards the principal, right? Duty of utmost good faith towards the principal. This means that directors should act in the best interest of shareholders and avoid any conflict of interest. This means that directors should act in the best interest of shareholders, right? And avoid any conflict of interest, right? This duty can be legal or ethical. This is sometimes legal and ethical, depends on the companies, right? Now, directors means the agents are fully accountable to the principal. You should be knowing that agents are fully accountable to the principal, right? Now, what can be the conflict of interest here? What can be the conflict of interest here? See, the conflict of interest here can be director have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the company and the best interest. So they have a fiduciary duty to have best interest of the shareholders. Conflict of interest means director's personal interest surpasses the interest of shareholders, right? So director's personal interest surpasses shareholders' interest. Directors lose their independence, lose their integrity, objectivity, right? Usually, director have to work for the best interest of principal, that's shareholders, right? But sometimes directors loses their independence. The conflict of interest arises. They work for their interest rather than the company's and shareholder interest, right? Example of conflict of interest means subcontracting companies work to close family members, right? CEO just gave a work of a company to his brother, so that's a conflict of interest on high pay, right? That means that company could have done this work on a cheaper cost, but because it was CEO's brother, he got high pay. So it's an ethical issue, right? It's legally has done wrong thing. It's a conflict of interest. He didn't thought of the company. He thought of his brother. So independence, he lose the independence here, right? Focusing on short-term profit to maximize own bonus, right? Directors thinking of bonuses. Directors thinking of bonuses, right? Directors thinking of bonuses, negotiating high unjustified remunerations, negotiating high and unjustified remunerations, right? Accepting any personal benefit from third party, accepting any personal benefit from third party. So that means these are the conflict of interest issues, right? You can face in the agency theory. Now this is a general theory. Examiner could ask any of the thing from this theory. Examiner could ask any of the thing from this theory, right? which we gonna be do that. The last topic which we gonna be do that before moving on to the past paper is performance excellence model. That's Beldridge, right? The last thing which we're gonna be do that before moving on to the past paper is performance excellence model. That is Beldridge, right? Performance excellence model. That is Beldridge, right? Now what's Beldridge? Now what's Beldridge? See, Beldridge allows you to achieve performance excellence, right? Beldridge allows you to achieve performance excellence in an organizational aspect, right? This is a model to achieve performance excellence. It says that if an organization wants to achieve excellence, that means no error. If an organization wants to achieve excellence, that means no error, right? So what they gonna be do? If the organization wants to achieve excellence, so what they gonna be do? They should be focusing on their leadership, right? They should be focusing on their leadership, that how organizations leadership governs and motivates. They should be focusing on their leadership, that how organizations leadership governs and motivates, right? They should be focusing on their strategy making, that how the organizations are making strategy. They should be focusing on their strategy making, that how the organizations are making their strategy, right? They should be focusing on it, that how an organization is making a strategy, how strategies are made, implemented, and monitored. Similarly, customers, building long-lasting relationship with customers and meeting their expectations. If you want to achieve the excellence, if you want to be a good performer, you should be thinking of your customers, right? Without customers, you can do nothing. Without customers, you can do nothing. So you need your customers with you. You need your customers with you, guys, right? Similarly, think of your workforce. Think of your workforce, how an organization enables and empowers its employees, skilled, motivated, high performance. How organization enables and empowers its employees, right? Skilled, motivated, high performance. Similarly, operations, effectiveness and efficiency of processes, right? And its continuous improvement. Effectiveness and efficiency of processes and its continuous improvement. You should be thinking of your operations, right? Operations could include the production and any of the thing and any departmental work, right? Any departmental work. Operation means that you should be efficient and effective, right? You should be saving cost on it. You should be not hurting the quality of it, right? Measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. How performance is monitored, data is analyzed, and knowledge is shared. You should be thinking of it. How performance is monitored, data is analyzed, and knowledge is shared. You should be monitoring the performances, right? You should be monitoring the performances of yourself. Performances of yourself, right? You should be thinking of it. And then you should be comparing your results with the competitors, right? You should be comparing your results with the competitors. You should be thinking of it, right? You should be thinking of it. You should be focusing your results with the competitors. You should be focusing your result with the competitors, right? So performance excellence model, Beldridge, allows you to achieve excellence in every work, right? In every work. It discuss about the organizations. So in an organization, if you want to achieve the excellence, you should be having a good leadership, right? Who is the leader? How he is, right? How he is, whether he's the charismatic personality or not, right? Whether he is the charismatic personality or not, right? How strategies are made, implemented, and monitored. Building long lasting relationships with customers, right? You should be focusing on your customers, your workforce. They are the earners of your company. They are the earners of your company, right? operations, effectiveness and efficiency of processes, and how performance is monitored, data is analyzed, and knowledge is shared, right? So performance of organization is relative to its competitors. Should be making these results. So why you just taught us these topics? See, I'll teach you complete course, but we'll be doing this course through practice of past papers. So you should be able to draft, right? So you should be able to draft. So now what we're going to be thinking, so now we have covered 4 to 5 topics. Now we are going to that question in which these topics are tested. So we are going to draft these topics which we have read. So you'll be gaining a confidence here. Porter, you're going to be gaining confidence here, right? That how to draft Pestle, how to draft Porter, how to draft theory, what are the questions that can be asked, and what's the scenario. I hope you got my point here. So now we can move on to our past paper, and that's Ling. Another thing which I'll just test it. Just think of it, right? What that this yeah. So I was saying that in SBL, the industry knowledge is important. Like if I belong to a construction industry and I got a scenario that belongs to the construction sector, questions belongs to the construction sector, that you can, because you are a tested, so automatically you'll draft good here, right? So in and if you have worked in that particular industry, that's a bonus for you all. You can easily pass that exam, right? This is a practical paper, so you should be thinking practically, right? But again, it depends which industry is being tested. Yeah, but because now advanced information is being given, yeah, that's for sure. Because now advanced information is being given, you should be knowing that the now industry will be known earlier, and if the industry is known for it, right? Yeah. Shall we move on to the past papers? Yeah. Our today's target is to cover that past paper and think of what to write. And I'll be conducting another session in which I'll write the complete answer with you, right? And I'll share my sample answer, examine an answer, so that in home you can study that, right? So that in home you can study that. Ling company. What's a C? You are a management consultant working for WZZ consultancy firm based in Wyland. So you are a management consultant here. You're working as for WZZ. consultancy firm based in Wyland, right? Your firm has been commissioned by Ling company. You are a part of the team working on the Ling assignment, and you have been asked to prepare a consultancy report. So you have to make a consultancy report here, right? So the format here is a report on a client on the strategic issues facing, as well as advising on them other issues. So the client is facing some strategic issues, and they have some other issues which you need to discuss with them, right? Which you need to discuss with them, right? So now assume that it is now end of 2006. Just assume that it's now end of 2006, right? You have collected and analyzed following information to help you prepare the consultancy report. So you have collected some information. That's exhibit 1, background information on Ling company. Exhibit 2, profile of conditions in Zland. Exhibit 3, background of Zedling electric light bulb industry. So here you guys knew that you have got the light bulb industry, right? So that here you guys knew that you have got light bulb industry. So if any of the person has worked in that industry, is going to be feeling this question easy. I'm going to tell you, right? If, or have experience of this sector. Notes from telephone conversation between Manlal and your manager WCC. Notes from telephone conversation between Manlal and your manager at WCC. Now see, using this information, you are now starting to prepare the consultancy report and associated task for Ling. See, SBL have two type of papers, right? SBL have two type of papers. Your role can be regularly changed, right? Your role can be regularly changed or not changing roles, right? So here, this question, I guess it's fixed that your role is not changing. We'll be doing the questions in which role is going to be changed everywhere. Sometimes you are an audit senior, sometimes you are an audit partner, sometimes you are on a management side, being on a management side, being on a chairman or CEO, or might be an advisor, might it's completely in one questions. But till now, the questions we have attempted, we have just faced here, till questions we have faced here, that we have one role, but we are going those questions also in which we have other roles, right? Now see, from the information that you have collected, draft a section of a consultancy report. Now here the format is, now I'll just request you to choose a different color for the requirement. In order to solving a paper on a computer base, choose a different color, and you could highlight data pertaining to that requirement from that color, right? You could highlight data pertaining to that requirement from different color, right? So see, an analysis of macro environmental factor. Now you have to do analyze the macro environmental factors, right, affecting the Zland light bulb industry using an appropriate model. Now see, in SBL, examiner won't ask you to do that. It's a basically kit question, right? In SBL, examiner won't ask you to make question, right? In SBL, examiner won't ask you to use model. It's on you. Basically, I haven't started SBL papers with you. We have just started with the short questions. Once we have moved on to the SBL papers, you'll be feeling difference here, right? You'll be feeling the difference. So here they have said that you need to analyze the macro environmental factors affecting light bulb industry by appropriate model, right? Your analysis should reflect the fact that Ling might enter this industry. Yeah. So your organization should think that Ling might enter in this industry. So you need to think like that, that our industry, our company is Ling, and we are going to light bulb industry. So we're gonna be analyzing it in that way, right? So we're gonna be analyzing this industry in that way, reflecting by setting up a distribution company for its products, right? By setting up a distribution company for its products through acquisition of Flick. So they're gonna be acquired, right? The marks here are 6, and then 2 are for professional marks, and the professional skills are here analytical skills, right? The professional skills are here analytical skills. So now, macro environmental factor, you need to analyze that industry. The best model here, we're gonna be using the pestle. Now here comes a question that, sir, if I didn't use pestle, does this matter? No matter. In SBL exam, you are not gonna be asked to use a model. It's on you whether to use that or not. It's on you whether to use that model or not, right? It's on you. Why I have highlighted these things? So because once I'll be solving the paper, I can think on the major points of it. I know the macro environmental factors. I'll use the pestle. I've highlighted the marks. It's total 8 marks. So I need to give 5 to 6 points here, right? In my points, I need to think of the analysis skills, right? In my points, I need to think of the analysis skills, right? And see the B part. An evaluation of attractiveness of Zland light bulb industry using an appropriate framework. Now they have asked you to evaluate attractiveness of Zland's light bulb industry, right? So now they have asked you to evaluate the attractiveness of Zland's light bulb industry using an appropriate framework. Again, the framework has been asked. Obviously, you guys know that in an SBL original paper, this type of wording won't be used. But attractiveness of an industry, how are you going to be analyzing that? How are you going to be analyzing that? Yeah, so how you are going to analyze the attractiveness? It's through the powers you're going to be having in that industry, right? It's going to be the powers that you have in that industry. That means here the examiner or you, the best model will be Porter 5 forces. Here the best model will be Porter 5 forces, and I'll be using the different color because if I have got the data, I'll highlight it with the requirement in my uh, just one question you'll be very favorable, right? Bulb industry using an appropriate framework, right? Using an appropriate framework. And here professional skills are available for demonstrating evaluation skills, right? How evaluation skills are going to be used, how analysis skills are going to be used. Don't worry, we're gonna be having separate classes of the skills, right? We're gonna be discussing each of these skills. You guys don't need to worry. If you have just looked around my book, you'll be having a complete satisfaction that how this book is manufactured, how this book is written, right? So you're gonna be learning different past papers through it. So don't worry, we're gonna be doing each and everything. We have a lot of time, right? And this is a new course. This is a newly made course for the upcoming attempt, right? So this should be your lucky students that you are in that course because the syllabus and a bit of a structure is changed. So I have to record this new. So that's really a good thing for you, right? Now, the second question. So we have decided in the first requirement, we're going to be using pastel. In second requirement, we're going to be using Porter 5 forces, right? In second requirement, we're going to be using Porter 5 forces. Now, second, the finance director of Ling is concerned that Ling has no expertise in acquiring foreign companies. So finance has shown a concern here. Finance director has shown a concern here that Ling have no expertise. So if Ling has no expertise in acquiring Flake, so he's advocating a strategic alliance with Flake, right? Instead, he has asked for your advice. Now, what strategic alliance? We're going to be learning through this question. So see, another part of syllabus is covered. So what strategic alliance, right? Discuss the appropriateness of such an approach to facilitating Ling's proposed entry into Zland light bulb market. Right? Discuss the appropriateness of such an approach to facilitating Ling's proposed entry into the light bulb market. That means you need to evaluate. That means you need to evaluate strategic alliance, that whether it's suitable for Ling or not, right? That is suitable for Flick or not, or with Flick or not, right? 6 marks and 2 marks. So highlighting the marks would allow you to think how many points. So here we have 17 marks. So approx we're gonna be making 12 to 15 points. Approx we're gonna be making 12 to 15 points, right? Just think of that theory that every point should be written for 2 marks, and you're gonna be writing more because paper is typing paper now, so you could write more, no worries here. Then 6 marks and 2 marks, right? Then 6 marks and 2 marks, and that's 8 marks. So we're gonna be writing approx 5 to 6 points here. I am making a planner on your paper. Think of it. This is a planner, how to attempt the exam. Now see, Manlal. Manlal has sought your advice regarding the issues raised by the letter from watching business. So now Manlal is basically a stakeholder of a company, and he has raised, right? It's basically between Manlal and your manager. So Manlal is basically an important stakeholder, and he has raised a concern. Now, what sort of concerns are they? See, they have received a letter from watching business. I don't know what letter it is, right? I haven't known it. I don't know. He says, I get really frustrated whenever anybody gets in the way of our most important relationship, that is with one of our shareholders. Agency, might be agency relationship is tested here, might be agency relationship is tested here. So overall, I do think that his investment are right and watching business can be safely ignored. However, I want your explaining my position, right? They want our explanation. So now they want us to prepare briefing notes for Manlal, which explain agency relationship between the board of Ling Company and Hicks Investment. So they want briefing note for Manlal, which explains the agency relationship between the board of Ling Company and Hicks Investment, and provide advice on how the demands from watching business should be considered. They have received a letter, and there's a panic around. They're gonna be thinking that how this letter need to be done. 7 and 2 marks, 9 marks, skepticism skills. So approx 5 to 6 points we're gonna be needed here, right? Approx 5 to 6 points we're gonna be needed here. Then the fourth thing is, Manlal has been reading about the Baldrige model of performance excellence, right? Manlal has been reading about the Baldrige model of performance excellence, whose underlying purpose is to help organizations achieve excellence, right? Whose underlying purpose is to help organizations achieve excellence. So, in order to help organizations achieve excellence via performance improvement, he feels Ling Company could use Baldrige model to improve its performance and would like to make a presentation on the model of board of directors of Ling Company. And would like to make a presentation on the model of board of directors of Ling Company, right? So prepare 3 slides. Now here the format is slides, right? I'll teach you each format, don't worry. Presentation to the board of directors of Ling Company that explains the Baldrige model and how it might be used to help Ling Company achieving success. So they have asked the Baldrige also here. So see, they have asked the Baldrige also here. So approx 4 to 5 points, right? So approx 4 to 5 points here. And the skills here are communication skills, right? We'll be discussing skills very detailedly later part of this course, right? Filhal, currently we are focusing on drafting, and then skills drafting is a separate thing which we'll be doing, right? So I have read all the requirements now. And these are pestle analysis to be done. So conclude on the requirements. Quarter 5 forces to be done. Strategic alliances need to be evaluated. Then briefing notes for Manlal explaining agency relationships, right? That Manlal has been using the Baldrige model. He wants Baldrige model to be used, right? We haven't read the case. We haven't read the case, but we have just read the requirements. Now, another thing which I want to teach you here is that exhibit allocation. Another thing which I want to teach you guys here is exhibit allocation. Now, what's exhibit allocation? See, sometimes examiner wants to collect data from different exhibits, right? Here, focus here. Sometimes examiner wants you to collect data from different exhibits. But sometimes examiner uses a particular exhibit for that data. Now think of it. Now see, in pastel, right? In pastel and Porter 5 forces requirement, what are the major exhibits you can get the data to draft on? In pastel, Porter 5 forces, what are the major exhibits you can get the data? So I think in these two requirements, 1A, 1B, you're gonna be getting data from exhibit 1, you're gonna be getting data from exhibit 2, and you're gonna be getting data from exhibit 3, right? So exhibit 1, exhibit 2, exhibit 3 are the major data which you're gonna be getting here, right? Exhibit 1, exhibit 2, exhibit 3 are the major data which you're gonna be getting. See, because exhibit 1 is background information of Ling company, so it will help us in PES2. Profile of conditions of ZLAN, again it will help us in PES2 and Porter 5 forces. And then we have a light bulb industry data, so it's surely going to be helping us in Porter 5 forces. It's surely going to be helping us in Porter 5 forces, right? It's surely going to be helping us. Then exhibit 4, that these are from notes from the telephone conversation between Manlal and your manager, right? Between Manlal and your manager. So this is some type of thing we can get, right? Strategic alliances, it seems to be mainly from, I guess, exhibit 4. Anywhere it can, we can't allocate till now, right? Then we have a letter we have received from watching business, so we can think of it that in which exhibit it can be, right? In which exhibit it can be. And then Baldrige model. Another thing which I want you to understand, that 1 or 2 requirements would be general, right? 1 or 2 requirements are going to be general. So what's general? That means no data. That means no data or very less data in that case. Now see, if we are attempting a 50 marks question, this is a 50 marks question. Na? This is a sample SBL paper, short SBL paper. So you should be thinking of it. That here we're gonna be getting some requirements in which no data is available. Just like in this question, Baldrige model, you won't be having any data, right? You won't be having any data. In Baldrige model, you are not going to have any data, right? Because it's a general question. But now you have to draft and with connectivity with the case. So now you have to draft this, right? So now you have to draft this case, but with the connectivity. That means there's no data in the case of this question. 1 or 2 requirements are going to be general in your paper. Just remember, you are not going to be having any data of those requirements. Just like in this case, you have the 4th requirement, which is of general, right? It's just simply a model, Baldrige model. So you're going to be implementing this model, but now you have to connect this model with the data you have read. You need to fix in that model in that particular industry in Ling company or Flick company. So you should be mentally prepared that we are going to have some questions in which there's no data or very low data in the case, and then we're going to be focusing it on, right? And then we're going to be focusing it on. So these are all the questions which we have read. Now move on to the data we have, right? Now move on to the data we have, right? So we can think of it. Yeah. So background information of Ling company. What's that? Again, we're going to be highlighting the data relevant to this requirement, any data which we got, we'll be highlighting it, right? Any data which we got, we'll be highlighting it. Someone asked that, sir, why initially we are not doing SBL papers? Beta, SBL paper is very big, right? SBL paper is a large paper. So I cannot directly dive into that paper. You should be understanding, reading things, right? You should be having a memorizing. So now, background information. Ling is a large and successful light bulb manufacturing company. It's large and successful. It's large and successful, right? Keep the requirements in the mind. We need to analyze environment, right? We need to analyze environment of the light bulb industry. And then we need to analyze the attractiveness of Z-land, right? We need to analyze the attractiveness of Z-land. So Ling is a large, successful light bulb and manufacturer company with global revenues of $750 million. It's obviously a financial term. We're going to be highlighting $750 million, right? From factories of Thailand, it supplies worldwide market for LED. Its workforce skilled, motivated, and the company enjoys good relations with employees. So it's good relation with employees. It's a social factor. Pastel social factor, right? Think of it. You're going to be applying pastel here, huh? You're going to be applying the pastel here. So it's a social factor, right? Now, the company's founder and CEO, Manlal, has spotted a potential LED light bulbs and entered large-scale production, right? And enters large-scale production. It's the company's founder and the CEO is Manlal. We were thinking, who's the Manlal? So it's the CEO. He spotted the potential of LED light bulbs and entered large-scale production, whilst rivals were still producing incandescents and halogen bulbs, right? LED bulbs provide a cheaper, more energy efficient and greener solution. Again, we have got a data for environmental, pastel environmental, right? So keep in the mind. That's the key to SBL. Now see, consumers in Thailand strongly approve Ling companies' light green and environmental ethical credentials. In fact, many countries have now passed legislation requiring domestic and business consumers to replace incandescent bulbs with greener equivalents. So many countries have passed legislation requiring domestic and business consumers, right, to replace incandescent light bulbs with greener equivalents. Manlal is planning visit to Z-land, a country which has recently passed efficient lighting legislation. So Z-land is also an environmental friendly country, right? And bans the use of incandescent bulbs in the commercial premises and outlaws their production and importation of that date. So it also focuses on employment, right? Or environment. Domestic consumers are expected to replace their incandescent bulbs with new technology. Manlan confidently accepts that LED will be the technology of their choice. So it means they have gonna be having the demand, right? They have gonna be having the demand in the Z-land. That means now this is diving into the case. This you need to do by yourself also, right? I'll be giving some questions as a homework, and you need to do it right. Now, while in Z-land, Manlal will visit Flick company. So they have a target Flick company, a light bulb producer, which Ling is interested in acquiring. This would represent a new growth method for Ling. New growth method means they haven't acquired any company till now. So it's the first time. They haven't acquired any company till now, so it's the first time, right? Now, up until now, its worldwide expansion has already been achieved. Its worldwide expansion has been achieved by establishing wholly owned distribution companies, right? Its worldwide expansion has been achieved by establishing wholly owned distribution companies in each targeted country. All production has remained in Y-land. However, Ling is now considering into a Z-land market via acquisition of Flick, a light bulb manufacturer in Z-land. So Flick gonna be giving their production capacity enhancement also, right? Flick is going to give them production capacity in production capacity expansion. Why? Because they are still now they are making things from Y-land. So Z-land will allow them to produce things in Z-land also. Manlal intends to fund the updating of production facilities at Flick, right? Manlal intends to fund the updating of production facilities at Flick to allow the production of LED lights alongside with continued production of incandescent and halogen light bulbs. So now, Flick to allow the production of LED alongside production of incandescent and halogen bulbs. They are going to make the two bulbs. He wants to achieve this before domestic competitors Z-land gear up for their own LED. He believes that Link's competencies in LED manufacture will give Flick a head start. Initial discussions with Flick suggested the company is open to acquisition. So the company is easily open to acquisition for the bid price has been agreed, which is acceptable to the both parties, right? To help fund global expansion, Manlal has sold 49. Yeah, apologies for the disconnectivity. So to help fund global expansion, Manlal has sold 49% of Ling to institutional investors, right? So they have sold 49% to institutional investors. And these institutional investors require growth and high dividends. And Ling is having difficulty meeting their demands, right? So now they have invested something. So that means they have disposed their shares. And now there's an investor, might be Higgs investment, right? Higgs investment, right? And these investors demands returns. These investor demands returns, right? There is very little growth in domestic violent market, and the distribution approach used to expand into foreign countries is taking a long time to mature, right? The investors are demanding quicker growth, and acquisition appears to promise this. So there's a pressure for acquisition also, right? There's a pressure for acquisition, and sometimes in pressure, wrong decisions are taking. Sometimes in pressure, there are wrong decisions. Ling company still has significant retained profits, and this is another issue for institutional shareholders. They feel that this money should be used to promote growth and has agreed a 400 million acquisition fund. So see, has a significant retained profits, and institutional shareholders, they feel that money should be used to promote growth, right? Manlal still feels more comfortable with the idea of organic growth through setting up distribution companies. Link company has made acquisitions in Wyland but has never for company before. So they haven't expanded foreign company. Manlal is partially agreed to the acquisition, right? Manlal is partially agreed to the acquisition, right? 400 million acquisition fund, it's also an important data. So we have got number of points of pestle here, and we're gonna be having more points, right, in the coming exhibits. Now see, here's the profile condition. Now see, here's the profile condition. In recent years, Zland nationalist movement had become increasingly popular. Now here's a nationalist movement, right? In the words of one politician, most people are fed up with Zland being pushed around by other countries. We want prosperity and jobs for our people. So there's a movement going around. It can be a political data. Yeah, it can be a political data. Nicholas Purge, the newly elected nationalist leader, recently outlined we are committed to return to prosperity. partners. So they are making some hindrances, right? They are saying that the partners might be hindered. We are currently considering the imposition of import taxes as way of protecting our home industry. We wish to create commercial environment here in Zland in which our companies can prosper. So they are creating a commercial environment in Zland, right? So they are creating a commercial environment here. We must also ask our citizens to continue the energy saving measures. So they are asking the energy saving measures, right? So economic growth can be predicted from here, or economic issues can be predicted from here. It might be this country's lack of energy resources. To supply reduce the number of power failures, which sadly have become a regular meetings will be turned off from 11 to 5. So now see, government has asked people to turn off the lights, right? Yes, energy saving lighting and heating. So it could promote your product because your product is an energy saver and ecological friendly. So in political, you can use this in social also, that nationalist movement can be used in some social, right? So I've also decreased that. In the same way, I expect our citizens to look at savings of money and energy. The government also recognizes that country continues to be in a recession. Country is in a recession, so economic issue, right? And that all disposable income is falling for people, so they are making feeling inflations there. And however, I cannot condone the decent demonstration against foreign goods. We are rebuilding our country peacefully and legally. So they are rebuilding, right? So now pastel data is a lot. I found here, right? I found here the pastels data is a lot here, right? Now exhibit 3. Background Zland electric light bulb industry. Here I might get the Porter 5 forces data. Here I might get the Porter's 5 forces data. All % glass is produced by 3 companies. So here comes the power of supplier, bargaining power of supplier, right? However, for each company's light bulb manufacturers are not important customers. Oh, they don't give you a importance, right? They don't give you an importance. So light bulb manufacturers are not that important customers, right? So light bulb manufacturers are not that important customers. Most glass manufacturer goes into the construction industry, and light bulb manufacturers take less than 0.5% of country glass. So that means you are not going to be an important customer for your supplier. So that means your power of supplier is going to be high. And again, metals and glasses are used. So glass won't give you a importance, right? Glass won't give you an importance. Metal manufacturers in Zland is dominated by one company. Now, metal manufacturers in Zland is dominated by one company, Omni Metal, and most it's only dominated, right? It's monopolistic competition. That means, right? It's monopolistic competition. That means, right? Most metal is sold to the automobile industry, with light bulb manufacturers taking less than 0.1% of Omni Metal's production. So again, you are not going to be important for them. However, the quality of glass and metal required by light bulb is standard, so switching between suppliers is relatively easy. Light bulb manufacturers takes place in factories which requires substantial initial investment. So initial investment is high, right? New entrants can't come easily here. New entrants won't come easily here. So we have got some data for Porter 5 forces also. Got some data for Porter 5 forces also. In Zland, light bulbs are low-cost commodity products, right? Some businesses have recently switched to all their light bulbs to LED to save energy, reduced cost in the long term, and reflect their aspiration green businesses. So businesses are switching their pastel data. Businesses are switching their pastel data. There's very little brand awareness in the light bulb market, and all light bulbs have to be fit and the standard sockets used in the company. Electric light bulb manufacturing in Zland is dominated by 5 companies, right? So there is 5 companies. 2 years ago, a large American light bulb manufacturer Price attempted to enter the market. The 5 dominated companies in the industry reacted by cutting prices, running marketing campaigns, and benefits of the country of home-based production, and lobbying supermarket groups not to stock products produced by new entrants. Chrysler withdrew from the market after 6 months. So that means that these 5 competitors don't allow anyone to enter that market, right? So these 5 competitors don't allow anyone to enter in that market. One company attempted, but they said we're gonna be giving marketing campaigns that we are your manufacturer, your country manufacturer, and then American companies coming here. So the people didn't accept it, that company, right? So that means this could be done by you also, or to you also. And this data could also be used in strategic alliance, that rather than acquisition, you can make an alliance. So that means now the flake is not going to be against you, because now you have made an alliance with them. If you have acquired and you don't know, God knows that all the companies again ran down to this campaign, that what you're going to be doing. So it's a very difficult decision here, right? When not focused on fighting new entrants, the 5 main competitors are regularly involved in price cutting, disruption of competitors, distribution channel, and aggressive marketing. So that means these 5 companies have decided that we are going to run the company. These 5 companies have decided that we are going to run the company, right? And it's their revenue and their share. So we could calculate the percentage increase of these companies, right? And percentage of total market share. We could calculate these things, right? Percentage of increase and percentage of total market share. Now, the products produced by the Zland light bulb industry are largely sold through supermarket. Now, these are the customers, right? These are the customers, bargaining power of customers. See, are largely sold through supermarket groups, 50%, home improvement superstores, and large electrical chain. The rest of the production is sold through small shops, except for a small percentage of production, which is sold directly to a large organization such as government departments. So these are your customers. Supermarkets, superstores, electrical chains, small shops. We have got many data about also them. However, light bulb is not constitute large sale items for any distribution channels. In fact, a recent report, light bulb sales were one of the products which contributed less than 0.1% of the supermarket's revenue. So that means your customers are not going to be giving you that much importance, because you are not the basic necessity. You are not the basic necessity of them, right? And they have many suppliers. So your bargaining power is low here. The power of customer is high. You're gonna be deciding this here, right? The power of supplier is high here, right? The light bulb companies in Zland have focused on canvassing 60% of production and 30%. So now here we have a lot of data of bargaining power of supplier, bargaining power of customer, threats of new entrants, threats of substitute. Substitute light bulb can be no light. They have ran a campaign that from 11 a.m., from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., there's all street lights can be switched off. So that's also a substitute, right? So now, if I think of it, I've got a lot of data for this question 1A, question 1B, and quite a bit data of question 2, right? Quite a bit data of question 2. Now exhibit 4, the last exhibit. Now exhibit 4, the last exhibit. And what's that? It's a telephone conversation between Manlal and your firm's manager. Thanks for calling. I'd like to talk to you about some issues which have arisen in relation to our proposed acquisition. Flick was widely criticized over operations at one of the factories in Zland, which investigated journalists produced material showing poor conditions for largely migrant workforce and dangerous pollution on an important local waterway caused by discarded glass. They also suggested that Flick had paid bribes to local officials in order to avoid having the factory shut down, but did not produce any real evidence. Now there are allegations against you, right? Think of the requirements in your mind. Now think of the requirements in your mind. So agency relationship, you have to follow that, right? Agency relationship. And again, this data, can be used in the pestle and powder also. See, they also suggested that Flick had paid bribes, right? Flick replaced the management team of the factory concerned, but they have become very sensitive to any criticism. So now they are very sensitive to criticism. Huh? No one can criticize them. No one should criticize them. When I discussed my planned visit with them last week, they said that they are confident that the problems are now behind them. A recent press statement in the Flick will strive uphold on the highest standard in the purity. So now they have had a press statement and they have made a commitment there. They have had a press statements and they have made a commitment there that they're gonna be having. They have made a commitment there that they're gonna be having largest ethical standards with themselves, right? In response, WCC managers say that Ling's interest in Flick has now been covered in the business press. So, and this is also covered thing that business press is also knows that Ling is invested. So now think into the Ling's perspectives that if Ling bought that company, the Link's customer could also criticize them that why you have bought the company who has faced allegations, who have done a pollution and marine life has been distorted and the waterway and all that shit. Why you have acquired that, right? Now Manlal continued, yes, it has, and just I received two letters. The first from the prominent environmental lobbying organization called WB. In the letter, lobbying group said that because unfortunate record in Zland Flick continues to be carefully monitored, WB said its interest in Flick activities has increased since it has now news of possible takeover by Ling. Strongly recommended that we do not make the investment because of Flick's past activities potential and recurring problems of the future. So see, now watching business, what's watching business here? What's watching business here? It's basically, it's basically a prominent environmental lobbying organization, right? So they can run negative campaigns. If they are against someone's, they can run negative campaigns, right? WB said its interest in Flick activities has increased since it saw the news about the possible takeover by Ling and strongly recommended that make investment, right? I am inclined to dismiss threats from the group of this type, but I know that WB has a lot of support and they know WB has a lot of support, right? They know here of the politicians and legislators. So against the pestle data here, and some of our shareholders is to be influenced by opinions of WB and worried about the proposed acquisition. WB is respected environmental research. Now, this also could be covered in agency relationship that we are the agent, right? We are going to follow. We are not going to be the bad ones like Flick. We are going to improve the Flick by acquiring. You gotta be, your tone should be like that. We are going to improve the Flick by acquiring, right? The second letter I received from head of X Investments, that Ling company's biggest institutional shareholders, the letters point out that board is employed by shareholders and that I determined to resolute maximizing shareholder returns. The letter encourages board not to be diverted any misinformed outsider concerned that actually none of their business. See, so they are saying misinformed outsider to WB. The board is saying to go for the investment, right? Because your work, the board is saying that your work is to focus on the profits and focus on our health and our need and our wealth. So any misinformed outsider who is going to blackmail you, you shouldn't be focusing on that, right? You shouldn't be focusing on that, right? So it's misinformed outsiders. They are called WB watching business as misinformed outsiders. So now the data is over and you should be knowing We have got a lot of data for question 1A and 1B. We have got very few data for question 2, and then no data, approx, no data for this, right? But again, SBL, SBL is a paper to connect, right? Whether there's data or not, we'll be drafting considering this case. Every point should be in your mind. Every point, every small point should be in your mind. The watching businesses things, the Higgs investments letter, the negative attributes of Flake, the competition, what they did with the American company that entered in the market, right? Zedland's industry, the journalist comments, everything should be in your mind, guys. Right? So we have made a question, we have made a planner in this question all well. And in fact, if you can have my book access, you can see that I have attached my Ling's answer. See, here's my Ling answer, right? Here it is, Ling's answer. I have made my points myself, right? I have made my points myself. We'll be discussing this answer. In fact, I'll draft some parts with you also. I'll draft some parts, or I'll draft complete question with you, and then I'll give you my answer, right? And I'll then give you my answer of that, so that you could think of it. We'll be drafting this question, then I'll share this my pointers, my learners. Basically, I want students to make pointers by themselves. These are the pointers I have made for this answer, right? These are the pointers I have made. We're gonna be drafting complete question in the next class, and then I'll send you my answer, my drafted version, and the examiner answer, so that you can protect it, right? And if some students want to draft answer by themselves of Link question, they can do and send it to me. I'll check them, right? So it's all for today's my side. Inshallah, in the next class, we're going to be solving this question. And then similarly, with the same pace, we are going to head towards different questions with their different theories being tested, and trying to ensure that we have covered many past papers with appropriate skills, right? And in the last, we're going to be having skills classes. We're going to be having article classes. We're going to be having the advanced info class, that if the advanced info is arrived, we're going to be having of that class also, right? So it's all from my side. Take care. Allah Hafiz.